Jai Hind, everyone. The lecture which we are going to discuss today is Big Data, which is covered under Unit 5 for the subject code KCA 101. So these are the few things we are going to see. That is the introduction of Big Data, history, data representation, and other things related to Big Data. So the very first question comes before we go with the big data. Since the big data, it comprises of two terms. One is big and another one is data. So the first thing which we need to understand that what is data. So if we talk about data, it could be anything which you store on the system and which is having some specific, or you could say relevancy related to the, or you could say it is having some meaning related to the application. So we could say it is a quantity, it could be a character, symbols on which operations are performed by a computer. And these operations, it could be simple, it could be complex. For example, you can go for addition of two numbers or just displaying the data. So which may be stored and transmitted in the form of electrical signals and recorded on magnetic, optical or any mechanical recording media. Now the thing comes, what is big data? So we are adding a term big to the data. So what it says? It says it is a collection of data that is huge in volume yet growing exponentially with time. That is, when we say what is big data, we say it is a huge amount of data, and this huge amount, that is volume, it is increasing day by day and the growth is exponential. So it is a data with so large size and complexity that none of the traditional data management tools can store it or process it efficiently. So big data is also a data but with a huge size, and we need different tools and different mechanisms for storing this huge amount of data and analyzing this huge amount of data. These are the few examples of big data. For example, the NYSE, that is, it generates approximately 1 terabyte of new trade data per day. That is, this huge amount of data is being generated every day, and this need to be stored somewhere and it need to be accessed, it need to be analyzed by certain tools, and these tools are very sophisticated in nature and they cannot be, analysis part cannot be done by ordinary data management tools. Another thing is social media, another example. The statistic shows that approximately 500 plus terabytes of new data it got ingested into the database of social media site, for example Facebook, every day, and the data is mainly, it is in terms of photos and video uploads, message exchanges, putting comments, etc. Even a single jet engine, it can generate 10 plus terabyte of data in just 30 minutes of flight time. With many thousands of flights per day, generation of data reaches up to many petabytes. So now the thing comes, what are the sources of big data? That is, from where this huge amount of data is being generated. So if we talk about the sources, it could be my social networking sites, for example, Facebook, Skype, Google, LinkedIn, etc., etc. So all these sites, they are generating huge amount of data on a day-to-day basis as they have billions of users worldwide. Then we are having e-commerce website, that is the websites which you visit for purchasing your items. For example, Amazon, Alibaba, Flipkart, etc. They generate huge amount of logs from which users buying, and the trends can be traced. And later on, the policy can be designed on the basis of these trends. Weather station. all the weather station and satellite, they gives a very large amount of data which needs to be stored and manipulated to forecast the weather in real time. Then we are having telecom companies. They are giants like Airtel, Vodafone, etc., which study the user trends so that they can make the policies accordingly and publish their plans. And for this, they store the data of millions and millions of users in their database. Then we are having the share markets, where the stock exchanges across the world, they generate a huge amount of data through its daily transaction. Now the question comes, what are the types of big data? We are having three formats. These are basically the formats in which the you could say the data is present. One is the structured format, another one is the unstructured format, and then we are having the semi-structured format. In the case of a structured format, any data that can be stored, assessed, and processed in the form of a fixed format, we term it as a structured data. That is, if the data you are storing it in the form of the records or something like that, then we are saying that it is a structured format. Over the period of time, talent in CS has achieved greater success in developing techniques for working with such kind of data where the format is well known in advance. And we are also deriving value out of it. However, nowadays we are foreseeing the issues because the size of this data is growing tremendously, and typical sizes are being ranged in the of multiple zettabytes. So this is just an example of a structured data. Here you could see the employee table in a database is an example of a structured data where you are storing the data in the form of fields of a record. But if we talk about a large organization, or if we talk about the stock exchange market where such kind of database is being stored, then in that case, the data which we are going to store in this format is very huge. Not even the database, even if we are using certain network tools, network monitoring tools, and we are converting the packet data into CSV files, then again, if you look at those CSV files, even a 5-minute data, it will generate a CSV of a terabyte size. So we could say that the data is generating at a large scale. Another format is unstructured data. Any data with unknown form or the structure is classified as unstructured data. In addition to the size being huge, unstructured data poses multiple challenges in terms of its processing or deriving value out of it. A typical example of unstructured data is a heterogeneous data source containing a combination of symbol text files, image, videos, etc. So nowadays, organizations have wealth of data available with them, but unfortunately, they don't know how to derive the value that is information out of it, since the data is in its raw form or the unstructured format. This is just an example of unstructured data. That is a simple Google search. If you look at here in the figure, then if you give a command, search criteria, Hadoop big data, then in that case you will see various links and images, and even the videos are also embedded there. So it is a type of unstructured data. There is another format also existing, that is the semi-structured data, and it contains both forms of data. We can see semi-structured data as a structure in form but it is actually not defined with example or table definition in a relational data DBMS. And the best example is a XML file. For example, this is a simple XML file. Here it is storing the information, that is the data, where you could say we are having the data in this form. But your XML file, it could also contain the, we are having a structure, proper format. That is, for example, the name, it is being enclosed, followed by certain tags. So it is in format, and all the information relevant, which is where you are storing the name of an employee, there you will find a structure. That case, you will see that everything is in a proper format. But the thing is that in a single XML page, you could have the images also, etc. But again, whenever you are inserting certain image in a particular field, that image to be present in a certain format. That particular format is to be followed. So now the question comes, what are the characteristics of big data? That is how we are going to characterize, or how we are going to say that this data, it will come under the category of a big data, and we need different tools for analyzing it and for storing it. So the main characteristics are volume, variety, velocity, and variability. Basically, they are also known by the term 3 V's of big data. Volume, variety, velocity, and variability. If you found all these 4 characteristics present in a particular data, then we say that it comes under the category of big data. So the very first thing is volume. The name big data itself is related to a size which is enormous, because we are saying that the data is very large in size. So the size of the data, it plays a very crucial role in determining value out of data. Also, whether a particular data can actually be considered as a big data or not, it totally depends upon the volume of the data. Hence, the volume is one of the important characteristics which needs to be considered while dealing with big data. It is very important criteria. Next thing comes variety. So the next aspect of big data is its variety. What it says? It refers to the heterogeneous sources. That is the sources from where that data is being generated. It is heterogeneous in nature. And heterogeneity not comes in terms of the data, it also comes the format which you are following. That is both structured and unstructured. The format is being followed in case of the variety. So during earlier days, spreadsheets and database were the only sources of data which are considered by most of the applications and companies. But now we can say that the data is present in the form of emails, photos, videos, WhatsApp chats, monitoring devices, PDFs, or audios, etc. They are also being considered in the analysis application. And this variety of unstructured data, it poses various issues for storing it, mining it, and analyzing it. And that is the reason we need separate tools. Basically, when you say data science, then it is data science. Basically, it is being used for analyzing big data. Next important characteristics is velocity. The term velocity, it refers to the speed of generation of data. That is how fast the data is generated and processed to meet the demands, and it determines real potential in the data. So, big data velocity, it basically deals with the speed at which the data is being generated. For example, we have seen in the case of the your WhatsApp applications, in the case of the Facebook, in case of your share markets, etc., where the data per minute or per hour is generating, it is a very huge amount of data. So, Big data velocity, it deals with the speed at which data flows in from sources like business processes, application logs, networks, social media sites, even your sensors, your mobile devices, even a simple mobile device which you are handling right now. It is also generating a huge amount of data. That is you could say your certain commands which you need to share with your base station. So a huge amount of data is being generated in that case. The flow of data is massive and continuous. A simple mobile device, that is, if we are having 100 users in a particular location and they had tapped their GPS on, then in that case, just analyze the situation that all the 100 users, they are also moving, then in that case a huge amount of data is being generated just by your mobile device. Next important characteristics is variability. That is, it refers to the inconsistency which can be shown by the data at times. That is, at certain time the data being generated is very huge and the velocity is very fast, but at certain time the velocity, the speed with which the data being generated, it goes down. So it hampers the process of being able to handle and manage the data effectively. That is, for example, during festive season, when your e-commerce, most of the e-commerce websites, they come with the sales option, then in that case a lot of users, although maybe they all those users, they are not buying, but still they are doing the window shopping on those websites. Then these websites, they are surging a huge amount of traffic at that time. So we can say that the data being generated is variable in nature. It is inconsistent. So now let's look where the big data is being used. What are the applications of big data? In the case of the fraud detection, big data helps in risk analysis and management, fraud detection, abnormal trading analysis, etc., etc. That is, when we go for the financial part, then in that case, the big data applications, they are very useful. Then for the advertising and marketing also, we can use the big data. Big data, it helps the advertising agencies understand the patterns of user behavior and then gather information about consumers' motivations. Another important sector is agriculture. Here, the big data can be used to sensor the data to increase the crop efficiency. That is, a small sensor. If we are, for example, if we are analyzing the crop pattern in a particular area, a lot of sensors they are, and we have formed a wireless sensor network in that area, then those small sensors also, they are generating the data 24/7 and sending this huge amount of data to the servers for the analysis part. This can be done by planting test crops to record and store the data about how the crops react to various environmental changes, and then using that data for planning the crop plantation accordingly. The big data, it comes with its own challenges. It must be pretty clear by now that while talking about the big data, one can't ignore the fact that there are some obvious challenges associated with it. And the very first challenge is the quick data growth. That is, the data growing at such a quick rate is making it a challenge to find insights from it. That is, every second the data is coming to the server, and your application, your real-time application, it is analyzing that data, and that analysis, it needs to be done in a real time. For example, your share market, your weather forecasting applications, the data is very quick, the speed is very fast, and we need the analysis tool that should be able to cope up with that speed. So it is a big challenge in the big data application. So there is more and more data generated every second, from which the data that is actually relevant and useful has to be picked up for further analysis. Now we are having so much amount of data, and we have already seen that the data growth is exponential. So no doubt there's a concern, that is how we are going to store this huge amount of data. So storage is another big challenge in terms of big data. So such large amount of data is difficult to store and manage by organizations without appropriate tools and technologies. That is, we need some tools, separate tools and technologies for storing it. Then comes syncing across the data sources. Since we are having multiple data sources, then we need the syncing part. That is, when organizations import the data from different sources, the data from one source might not be up to date as compared to the data from another source. Security, it is another important challenge. So huge amount of data can easily become a target of APT, that is advanced persistent threat. So here lies another challenge for organization. Then the data, it could be unreliable. That is, you need certain mechanisms to validate that data, to authenticate that data. Then there are other miscellaneous challenges present in it. That is, integration of data, skill and talent availability, solution expenses, and processing a large amount of data in time, and that too with the accuracy, so that the data is available for the data consumers whenever they need it. So what are the advantages of big data? It is a cost saving thing. That is, the real-time analytic tools may be expensive. It will eventually save a lot of money. Some tools of it, like Hadoop and your cloud-based analytics, can bring cost advantages to business. Then there is a time reductions, because high-speed tools like Hadoop, etc., so they are providing the real-time analytics. Then comes the better sales insights, since these tools, they are providing real-time analytics. So the policymakers, they are able to make a good decision. Then the control online reputation tools can do sentimental analysis. We can understand the market conditions well. We can increase the productivity also with the help of these tools. Fraud detection, that is, your banks and credit card companies, they can get the benefit with such kind of applications. But the big data is also having its disadvantages. We need the talent, that is, separate scientists and experts. They are required to be they are required for this field. So we need to hire or train the staff. Incompatible tools. For example, Hadoop is one of the important tool for analytics, but standard version of Hadoop for real-time analysis, there is a problem. Then correlation errors might be present. That is, if the data fields, they are highly correlated. So sometimes these correlation among the features, it might lead to wrong decisions or the wrong classification or the wrong analysis of data. But sometimes, although it is cost effectively, but again, the cost in terms of hiring the resources, in terms of buying tools and licenses, it is quite costly in that term. Then the security and privacy comes. No doubt, since the data is very large, the authentication or the validation of data is not so easy. So no doubt, security and privacy concerns are also related with this. If you want to study further, then you can follow or you can read this book, that is Big Data Concepts, Technology and Architecture. This is all about big data today. Thank you and